everybody. Happy Wicked Wednesday and welcome to Shivers. Today we're talking about one of the founders of horror, and that is Alfred Hitchcock. Alfred Hitchcock was alive from 1899 to 1980 and was from London, England. He began his career and eventually produced, directed, and created 50 feature films, receiving 46 Academy Award nominations and 6 wins. He moved to Germany in 1923, and here is where the majority of his artistic endeavors began, saying that he was inspired by all of the art exhibits that were in Germany, and he would take frequent trips to Berlin to visit cinemas and more art. His directorial debut was the 1925 release The Pleasure Garden, which he directed in Munich, Germany, and followed it with a silent film called Mountain Garden that even he considered to be a bad movie, destroying it forever. He followed this with The Ring, which was said to be the best British movie of all time, and then The Lodger, a story of London fog, his first commercial and critical success in 1927. Jumping ahead many years, Hitchcock's films became international hits, and he moved to Hollywood, California in 1939. 1960 to 1980 were his golden years for movies, making him a star director and a household name, and receiving his name on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 1960 for 2 stars, one for television and the one for motion pictures. He remained in Hollywood until he died of poor health in 1980 at the age of 80. Alfred Hitchcock's goal overall was to create a cinematic experience that truly captured the audience, enthralling you like the art exhibits that he saw when he was young. He believed that suspense and thriller done right was the most artistic form of film, and this is why the majority of his movies are created under these genres. He created his own style of filming with video effects and colors that are different than any other that you'll ever see, so much so that his style has been trademarked as Hitchcockian and considers all of his films to be quote-unquote pure cinema. His film Psycho, which came out in 1960, flipped the script for many viewers, turning Alfred Hitchcock from a thriller connoisseur to a now father figure of modern horror. He followed this film with The Birds, another horror film, and rode that train for a while, leaning more on the side of horror than the side of just suspense. Sadly, though, his treatment of cast members, actors, and even characters wasn't that great. He was quoted to say that actors should be treated like cattle, and is renowned for killing and creating psychosis in all of the female characters he creates. He even has his own archetypes for the women characters in his stories: the vamp, the tramp, the snitch, the witch, the slink, the double-crosser, and the demon mother. All of these women get punished in the end of the stories. Moving on to his actual movies, though, there are obviously a ton of them. A couple to mention, though, is one from 1958 called Vertigo. This movie is studied by film people, film scholars across the world. Vertigo is a whodunit type of movie. It is definitely more leaning on the suspense and the detective type of movie under that genre. But the actual filming of it, this was one of the first movies ever to use the camera train, where you actually put a camera on a track and you move the camera along to create the sense that there's running or depth in the actual shot. When I was back in school, I took a film class as an elective, and Vertigo was one of the films I needed to watch along with The Shining. And watching The Shining and seeing some of those tricks that you'll see with the camera and effects that are natural come from Vertigo and are definitely inspired by Hitchcock. Vertigo is really a great movie, and even watching it just a couple of years ago, from 1958, it certainly stands up to the test of time. Another one to mention is North by Northwest. Many people who are a little bit older will know North by Northwest. It is probably one of his most famous films and is huge in the thriller and suspense genre. This is a movie that inspired the story Gone Girl and many artists and writers who are in that same genre. North by Northwest, I would recommend for anybody of any age. You then have Psycho. Psycho has been created into this international franchise of sorts with Bates Motel. The story of Psycho is you have Norman and Norma Bates, mother and son, who go to this motel, own this motel, and things just start happening. People start disappearing, people start dying. Everyone believes that it is the mother, and in the end, we come to find out that it is Norman who killed his mother, who's now dressing up like her, doing all of these murders. Psycho has been turned into a spinoff like Bates Motel, the actual TV show. There's a number of Halloween haunted houses that are called Bates Motel or have Bates Motel as little nuances in the actual Halloween haunt. Psycho has been just really one of the pinnacle films to create horror, to start it as a genre overall. And certainly in 1960 was one of the most profound twists at the end of a movie, something you would never, ever, ever see coming. After that, you have The Birds from 1963. For somebody like my mom who really doesn't like horror movies, The Birds is something that really freaked her out because it was believable. One day the apocalypse comes and it happens because all of these birds just start going nuts. It's realistic, it can happen. And you have a lot of these themes in Hitchcock movies across the board, whether they're thriller, whether they're suspense, whether they're actual horror. It's all of his stories are rooted in reality and things that you can truly see happening. So, those are just a couple of movies that I wanted to actually mention from Alfred Hitchcock. There are, again, a ton of them, and they're spanning from suspense to thriller to horror and really everything in between. If you're looking for something different or just something to observe from a unique filming perspective, I would recommend looking at any of them. But either way, that is our chat today about Alfred Hitchcock. Thank you for listening to today's Wicked Wednesday. Check out the Shivers social pages, including the newest page through Universal Paranormal Plus, to see some of the Halloween haunt reviews from this year, along with all of the episodes of Shivers. Be sure to join and be part of the spooky events on Meetup and more conversations like this. And don't forget, if you're a fan of reading, Burn Her Down, my book, is available on Amazon and is free for anyone using Kindle Unlimited. Thanks.